I live in a tick-filled area. We have 7 dogs, multiple animals, and we're picking ticks off. I'm picking ticks off my sweet wife. She's picking them off of me. We're picking them off of the dogs, and none of us have any fear of Lyme disease.
In today's episode, we are going to be covering, and maybe for some of you, uncovering for the very first time, some fascinating and very important information about Lyme disease. Dr. Bergman says that while many of us may associate it with a bug bite, it really has nothing to do with that at all. Am I getting that right?
Well, it kind of.
Okay.
There's going to be a stimulus, but one of the things that I tell everyone in the medical world, or the current view of Lyme disease, is that a tick bite bites the person, they develop all these symptoms, and the symptoms are diffuse. There's no real test that shows you have it, but if you're in a certain area or had that, possibly it could be that.
Okay.
Except what I tell everyone to break that crazy pattern is if 100 people went through a swamp, they all get bit by mosquitoes containing malaria. Do they all get malaria? No, they don't. Okay, 100 people going through a forest, they all get bit by a tick containing Lyme disease. Okay, and they're not in Lyme, Connecticut. Okay, do they all get Lyme? And everyone's going to say, well, no, not all of them. Okay, so what's the
Huh.
deciding factor?
Yeah.
That's the
Yeah.
big deal. That's where the conversation has to go.
And that's what we're going to be covering in today's Forbidden podcast. I am so excited to be joining you again, Dr. Bergman. It's truly such an honor to be able to help facilitate this conversation. And for anyone who is new here, Dr. John Bergman has spent decades helping people understand how the body was designed to heal, adapt, and thrive. And today we're going to dive into a topic that's really going to spotlight how miraculous this body is.
One of the biggest questions that the people who are suffering from this need to ask is why their body. And it's not the stimulus, it's not the tick bite or the tick exposure. What was the underlying factors in their system? Why were they susceptible to this? Because, 100 people getting bit by a tick, how come some get it and some don't? And that's the thing that practitioners are not designed to think along those lines. It's called critical thinking. So you're not looking at the person as a victim of this, what made them susceptible. And that's why we're going to break it down into the actual stressors that cause their body to be weak enough to not respond correctly.
And this topic, along with every topic in this series, is approached respectfully with curiosity, discernment, and respect for truth, because truth stands when it's examined. Dr. B, as I was preparing today, I went back through your Lyme disease lectures, which have spanned more than a decade. And yet, this topic is just as relevant today, if not more so. And what really stood out to me is that while recommendations have evolved, your foundational principles haven't. Whether you're teaching in 2013, 16, 24, or today, you're continually returning to the same core truths about how our bodies work. What make these principles so timeless?
The biggest factor is looking at disease, okay? That it's something attacking the body. And then we're in a chemical based healthcare. So any symptom that the body is exhibiting, whether it's a fever or joint pain or anything, there's always a chemical solution or medication solution to cover up that symptom. And that's why they call it Lyme disease, except it's really the body adapting correctly. The body is self healing and self regulating. But we're in a medical system that has a combination of arrogance and ignorance. And this is why I really like Voltaire's quote. It's dangerous to be right in matters on which the established authorities are wrong.
Oh.
So because it's politicized. And that's insane. We can't have a political disease. But when you're in a system that governs everything on a diagnosis, so once you get that label on your medical chart, or that tattoo on your forehead, you have that disease. And so they know the appropriate therapies for that disease according to their belief system. When really the body's doing everything, it's self healing and self regulating, it's doing everything it can to break down the bad tissue and build healthy tissues.
So, what I've noticed throughout your work is that, and I love how you said this is not a political topic. We're about exploring truth here. And no matter what the disease is or the label is, you always start with the body's design. And why is that such an important place to start when even talking about Lyme?
The biggest thing is what doctors forget because they're hung up on labeling the patient with a certain diagnosis, and so they know the cookie cutter therapy of which drug to supply, and that's it. That's the medical system in a nutshell. But the body is self healing and self regulating. So, a real doctor is going to be a detective. This is why, when you go to someone that truly understands Lyme disease, is the body adapting to physical, chemical, emotional stressors. But if you look deeper, what caused that person to be susceptible in the first place? See, there is no, when you look at the human body is an ecosystem. You are actually one third human cells, you're one third bacteria, and one third viruses, funguses, mold, yeast. Okay. So this ecosystem is functioning in harmony. So it's just like the Amazon rainforest. And this is why 100 people getting bit by a tick, they're not all going to get Lyme disease. Some people, their ecosystem is built to adapt to that assault or that initiator of supposed disease. Now, a real doctor is going to be a detective and look at the person, not the symptoms they're exhibiting. Okay, but look at what caused that person to be weak in the first place, to have a different reaction. And it really comes to the buildup and breakdown of cells or oxidative stress. And that, when you're going after the core, then you've got the real solution.
What you're saying is that we're exposed to things every day, all the time. But the core of what you're talking about is that's what explains why there can be 30 children in a classroom. Maybe one gets sick, maybe a few more get sick, but not every single person in the room does. And so, even though Lyme disease is considered such a serious topic that is real, what you're exploring with us and encouraging us to have hope in is that maybe the symptoms are actually telling us where our body is struggling fundamentally, which means address the body, and then the body knows what to do with it.
It's the whole thing of, and this goes back over 100 years ago to Pasteur and Beauchamp, where Pasteur was saying it's the disease, it's the pathogen, it's the thing that's attacking. And Beauchamp was saying, no, it's the terrain. And so in modern medicine, they have that cookie cutter approach that doesn't involve critical thinking. And so you have the symptom, they have the drug or chemical to deal with that symptom. It's kind of like you bring your car to a mechanic and you have knocking engine syndrome. Well, okay. The guy can say, "Well, I have no idea what the knocking is, but I'm going to turn up the radio, and that will solve it." So when you have a systemic inflammatory response, and this is what Lyme disease is, except inflammation's not the body attacking itself; it literally has to do tissue damage. So it's the repair process. But if you're given a steroid or a non-steroidal anti-inflammatory to reduce that discomfort that you're feeling in the joints, that stops the healing process of the body. And so every chemical intervention without that deals with the body's best ability to deal with that pathogen, you're suppressing the body's ability to deal with the pathogen and to eliminate it. So you're always dealing with the symptom. That's why they call it a post-treatment Lyme disease syndrome, because they're giving the appropriate drug for the appropriate symptom. They're given the antibiotic, they're given the steroid, they're given all of these different drugs, but the people are still suffering because they're not
Mhm.
strengthening the body's response. They're not helping that ecosystem.
Like the engine example and turning up the radio just so you don't hear the knocking. Um,
Mhm.
what you're saying is that even with something this serious, that there's something under the hood.
100%. Why is the diffuse joint pain there? And, if you look at just diffuse joint pain, just for the heck of it, all the joints are hydraulic. They need fluid in the system. So if anything negatively affects the health of the blood, you're going to have a desiccation or drying up of the joints. And so that's going to exhibit it. Well, if you mindlessly give a nonsteroidal anti-inflammatory, which if the joint is compressed, you're starting to damage tissue. So the body's going to send inflammatory cells to that to regenerate the tissue that's damaged. And so this is why and then if you give an antibiotic because you're suspecting a bacterial infection, that destroys the gut flora in the intestinal tract. And your intestinal tract is your tissue production central. So you may be suppressing the bacteria that they suspect in Lyme disease, but you're also destroying your body's ability to regenerate that tissue. So the symptoms could go down with the chemical intervention, I mean, the medication. You're looking at long term destruction of the body. It's it's you're not helping the body regenerate. And this is why the number one thing I tell everyone: anything you do to the body, okay, during any kind of assault, okay, if it helps your body detox or regenerate tissue, that's good. If you do anything that damages the tissue or damages your body's ability to respond to regenerate healthy tissue, that's called bad.
So, okay, now let's actually make this like tangible. So, someone's been bit and they're seeing symptoms. Describe what we might see. And if you would be willing, do we just say, oh, I'll just go take some probiotics, I'll go get some more rest and some sunshine? Or are there certain things that we can do immediately so that early recognition equals early intervention or repair?
100%. I mean, you figure this is an epidemic that's affecting over 600,000 people every year in just the US. According to the CDC, they say the Lyme disease is caused by bacterium Borrelia burgdorferi, and it's transmitted through a bite tick. And they say once you get bit by a tick, it takes 36 to 48 hours for it to transmit. But then look at the symptoms, okay? The symptoms that start to appear: headaches, neck stiffness. You're looking at sometimes there's a rash. In classical, it's a target rash lesion where it looks literally like a target. You can have facial paralysis. You can have severe joint swelling in your entire body. Tendons, muscles, joints can be strained and tight. You're looking at heart palpitations, shortness of breath, nerve pain, shooting pain, tingling. I mean, this is horrible. But in the medical system, their treatment are for each one of those symptoms. So when you look at it, patients treated with antibiotics at the start, okay, that may suppress a bacteria, okay, but it's also going to do damage to the system. And so these patients that are given the medications for each one of those multiple symptoms, they develop what's called post-treatment Lyme disease syndrome.
Oh,
And that's where it's dangerous.
I'm feeling some tension here, some real, this is visceral. This is a topic that is so important to all of us. Whether you are personally affected, you're in an area where there are ticks, you have pets, you have children. What do we do?
You got two things. You got the fear of the bug or the confidence in your strong immune system. So we're going to delve into what caused the system to be weak and susceptible and how to make your body bulletproof.
The extended conversation is available right now at DrBVIP.com. Remember, stay curious, ask better questions.
And expect miracles.
That's right. We'll see you soon.